Hello everyone and welcome back to a new video here today for round 2 of the RTA Virtual Motorsport LMP2 Cup League Racing Championship. If you missed round 1 last week around Portimao, make sure you check that out before we get into this one. And as we look at the standings after that race, you can see that we are down in 18th place, 19 points after a DNF in Heat 1. Good recovery to P20 in Heat 2 and then a very good recovery back up into the top 10 for a P9 finish in the feature race. But getting into the action here today around Imola, one of my favourite tracks in the world and one of the few that I have been to in real life. So although I really enjoy the track, it is a very tricky one to get right. You have to be pinpoint perfect throughout the lap, have to really take advantage of hopping over the curves and really abusing them to extract the most lap time. So trying to just keep it clean and consistent is going to go a long way into getting the good results here today. But getting into qualifying now, making our way out of Ravazza 2, the final turn onto the pit straight to finish our first flying lap. Just under 10 minutes left and we're going to set a 1:33.9, so dipping under the 1:34 mark there. And there's still a good bit of time to find in that lap compared to what I know I can do in practice, but for a banker lap I'm very happy with that. And this week in the practice before this race and the practice on the Monday night before, it seemed that the grid was very closely matched around here, so could make for a very interesting couple of races and qualifying session. But making our way through the Tamburello chicane now on what was our fastest lap in qualifying. Tricky couple of turns to get right into that hardest braking zone on the track. Brake about 50 metres further field on our chicane, a bit wide on the first apex, and on the second apex we get a bit too much curb and we really lose the back end there, so definitely not optimal for the best lap time that we can achieve. And then on the exit off the Tosa hairpin, not really getting the traction down as well as we would have liked either. Making our way up the hill towards Piratella, turning into the left-hander, making sure to keep it on track, as now we dip down the hill into Acqua Minerale. Going in nice and fast, braking really late and then hitting the apex and getting a pretty good exit actually. It was a corner that I seemed to be struggling at a bit, so I had to get that right then. Now into the Variante Alta, have to really abuse that first curb, don't want to get too much of the second apex and then getting a really good exit there. As now we make our way down to the final two corners of the track, Ravazza 1 and Ravazza 2. Braking downhill, so have to brake really early, down to first gear and then quickly back up into second for Ravazza 2. Important to get a good exit here as you run up to the line. As we get out of the final turn, we're going to improve by about 0.3 of a second and get to a 1:33.6. So we did go again to try and improve on that. This is 2 laps later, into turn 1, into Tamburello. Just going to clip the first apex a bit too much, it upsets the car and it sends us into the gravel, and that was the end of our qualifying session. So in the end then we finished up in P13, the 1:33.640, 1.7 seconds off pole who was Roland Doherty. But it's really close and there's a second separating Peter McCann in 5th all the way down to Logan Hoy in P15. So at least in qualifying it looks very close, and hopefully that means we can have some good races, make up a few places and get some good points. So as we're making our way through the final 2 turns of this formation lap now, getting ready to go for Heat Race 1. Getting an off track there through the final turn, so not a great start, but the leaders put the foot to the floor and we are going here in Imola for round 2, making our way through the kinks of the main pit straight down towards Tamburello, and really just want to make sure that we can avoid any chaos that usually ensues on the first lap at this turn. Braking a bit too late there, as a lot of people seem to do, getting caught out with the slipstream and the cold tyres and brakes on the opening lap. Kevin Joyce, who is now ahead, get a bit out of shape there on the exit, allows Jeff Richardson to make a move before getting into Tamburello. Then into Tosa, Kevin is going to have a bit of a look down the inside. We try and go around the outside, but not able to on this occasion as Logan Hoy tries to get past us, but we get a better exit there. Speaking of a better exit, on the run up to Piratella, Kevin goes a bit defensive, so we have a look around the outside. Unfortunately, we just don't have the grip or the downforce at the moment to make that move stick, so we just run off the track and Kevin holds the position for now as we make our way through the exit of Aqua Minerale on the run down to the Variante Alta chicane. Didn't get a great exit there, but into the chicane we all concertina up and we get a pretty good run there and get a good exit, but not a good enough exit to be close enough to try and have a dive down into Ravazza 1. As we plummet down the hill, take a bit too much off the curb there, kind of unsettled the brake in a small bit. You can't really tell from the video, but I could definitely feel it as we now exit out of the final part to finish lap 1 here in Imola. Started 13th, we're going to finish the lap in 14th. I think possibly Jeff started alongside us and technically behind us, and he got the jump us on the start, so we lose a position there unfortunately, but still in a good place. As now through the chicane Tamburello we get really out of shape and we can't get the power down on the exit, and Logan nearly ran into the back of us there from our lower speed compared to him, and he done really well there not to crash into the back of us. On the exit of here now, if we run a bit wide, just putting the wheel into the gravel, that gives Logan the invitation to go down our inside into the hairpin, but with the outside line we managed to get the better traction and hold on to position for now. But just a few corners there on that same lap into the chicane, we're going to get a bad bounce off the curb and it makes us go a bit wide. As we come back onto the track, we're going to be hit with a slowdown penalty from iRacing. I tried to see if this could go away by itself just by being a bit slower, but unfortunately on the run down into Tamburello we have to fully lift off to get rid of the penalty that allows Logan to go through and up a position. Then at the end of that lap you can see here that Kyle Irvine was disqualified from the session due to him flashing all over the place and nobody being able to race against him properly because we couldn't see him on the tracks. We lost a position on that lap to Logan and then we gained one back because of Kyle's disqualification. We skip ahead a few laps then, and up ahead Logan has been putting Kevin under pressure for the last few laps, and on the exit of Aqua Minerale Kevin gets a bit out of shape, runs out onto the grass, and we manage to make our way past but on the run into Variante Alta. And with just one lap left after the end of this one, we're going to try and hold on to this position and finish in P14. And then just a lap later we managed to do that, coming through the final turn onto the pit straight. Kevin is right behind us, but luckily for us there's no more braking zones and we managed to come across the line. We started P13, we finished P14, so all in all not too bad of a result. So P14, as we saw, just ahead of Kevin thanks to his little mishap on the second to last lap. About 30 seconds behind the winner, Ronan Doherty, winning from pole ahead of Jason Smith and Rory O'Shea rounded out the podium. Losing one place in that race from where we started isn't ideal, but starting heat race 2 from 14th, it's still a good position that we can try and make up a few more places for and have a better grid place for the feature race. So getting ready to go here for heat 2. Bit stoppy starty there, but we're underway now, and compared to the previous race definitely not as spread out as it was running down into turn 1, so probably need to take a bit more care on this occasion. Have a car there on our left hand side, I think that is Jamal, and then into turn 1 it just comes across, there was space there, and then through turn 2 have to check up there to not run into the back of him. On the exit then running down into Tamburello, have a lot of space in front of us and not really coming under any pressure from behind, so can kind of take it somewhat easy and get a bit out of shape on the exit of Werner. And then up ahead there's contact into the hairpin. I was expecting somebody to be sideways there as I went through, but somehow everybody is facing the same direction and everybody is still alive. Now into Piratella up ahead, Jamal and Kevin going side by side. I try to follow Kevin through on the inside as Jamal runs by, and we're side by side running down into Aqua Minerale, but we're on the outside of the side to just give that one up and let Jamal keep the position, because I didn't want to try and go side by side through there. It wouldn't have ended well for either of us. Now into Variante Alta, closing up right behind as Finley Melvin was having a bit of luck behind, but I kind of adjusted that nobody would be silly enough to have a dive down into that corner, especially on lap 1. coming through the final 2 turns then. Going to try and get a good exit as always and see if we can possibly have a chance of making a move into turn 1. We get a pretty good exit and we're right in the slipstream of Jamal behind. And now we're going to use that slipstream, the extra speed, to see if we can try and get past. Closing in slowly, we have a look to the inside, more so just to try and put him off than actually go for a move. And it seems to have worked as he went a bit wide through the first part, compromised his line through the second part of the chicane, and on the exit we managed to get around the outside and move up a place, back up into P15. Bit later on in lap 2 then, on the exit of the chicane, going to be a car just off the track, and I didn't see him until very late because of the cars in front. But luckily we managed to have the reactions and he was just far enough off the line that we were able to avoid having a collision there, and we moved up yet another place back up into our starting position. But unfortunately on the very next lap, it's where our race is going to come to an unfortunate end. And through the chicane we just carry a bit too much speed. The rear end starts to come around on us and we're not able to stop it before hitting into the barrier and the front of our car coming off. After that we took a fast repair in the pits and we came back out on track in P22 up to 21st now. I think somebody disconnected, and now right behind Aaron Dalton fighting for P20. On the exit of the Villeneuve chicane he runs a bit wide, gets a bad run, so we decide to have a go down the inside of the Tulsa hairpin. On the exit with the outside line he's able to get on the throttle a bit earlier, so we're side by side now on the run up into Piratella. He's just ahead and I brake a bit earlier. He managed to get in front. We both run off the track, but he managed to hold on to position which he had before entering that turn. Into Aqua Minerale then, again closing right into the back of Dalton's car, and we get a much better exit there right behind him on the run into the chicane. Not going to go for a move here, but just trying to put him under pressure, and that forces a mistake from Aaron. He loses the back end just like we did a couple of laps ago, and we managed to get that move done up into P20. A lap later then we've closed into the back of Sebastian into the Villeneuve chicane. He goes a bit slow there, not getting the best line, but unfortunately for us on the exit we get a bit out of shape. Not able to make a move for the inside of Tulsa. But on the exit Sebastian, I don't know if he just had a bad exit there and the car bogged down, or he let us through, but either way up another position into the top 20 and P19. After that then we just took it nice and easy to the finish. Well, I come across the line in P19, get a few points, but unfortunately it's not the best position to be starting the final 20-minute feature race from. So P19 it was, down 5 positions from where we started and just over a minute from the winner, who was Jason Smith with Rory O'Shea behind him, and then Pete Ron's winner Ronan Doherty in P3. Considering we had to basically do a drive-through to get our fast repair, finishing a minute behind the leaders isn't too bad, but there's definitely more in that race for us than a P19, and they will have to make up for that in this final feature race. So as we prepare to get going for the final time here in Imola, we make a big contact with, I think that's CJ O'Sullivan just ahead of us. Thankfully nothing too severe and no damage to either car, or don't end up spinning around or anything. But we're green here now, and Jeff Richardson, who is now ahead of us, started beside us, gets the jump on us on the run into Tamburello on the first lap for the final time. Managed to keep it clean so far on the opening lap in the previous 2 races, but can't on this occasion as there's a big crash ahead of us. We have to really check up there not to run into the back of anyone. Luckily we managed to avoid all the chaos as it's still going on the run into Villeneuve. Not sure who that is in the green car, but they're off the track and they pull off the track once again there in the Villeneuve chicane, and we managed to make our way past them. But to skip ahead through the rest of this lap now, as there was no drama on the rest of us, there was enough drama in the first few turns. Luckily we were able to avoid it all, and considering the amount of cars that were involved, unfortunately don't have a replay of it, but yeah, there was a lot of cars who were just collateral damage in a few other people's incidents. But finishing lap 1 here now in the feature race, start at P19, want to jump up into P14, so we managed to gain 5 positions on the opening lap and stick with the cars that are ahead of us. So good start, and hopefully a lot more good to come during the rest of this race as well, and we can make up a few more positions. We jump ahead a bit later then on lap 2, and a very strange incident ahead. Simon, I think he just took a bit too much curb on the inside on the entry, upsets the car, loses the back end and goes for a spin. Luckily he spun off the racing line, we weren't anywhere near having a collision with him, and we move up another place. Had a few laps then to try and get into a rhythm, and we jump forward a few now. Into the first turn, there's a car there on the gravel after having a bit of an incident into the chicane, and now I think that is Evan Walsh directly ahead of us. I think he was some way involved in that as well. And another thing to look out for is, because of the crash on lap 1, means that there's a lot of faster cars that were ahead of us, either that we got past from them being involved in that crash and now they're back out on track, or they had to take a void in action. One of those is Rory O'Shea right behind us. He finished on the podium in the previous 2 races, so he's obviously much quicker than us now. He's less than half a second behind us, so we're either going to have to try and hold a much faster driver behind, or see if we can let him pass and work with him. And I don't think we're going to have much of a choice there, as out of Aqua Minerale we get a really bad exit. It looks like we're going defensive into the chicane, but I was actually going to the inside just to allow Rory to get the move done, and by the look of it, I think both of us were trying to let the other go first through the chicane because we didn't want to battle through there, and the 2 of us end up being out of the race. But Rory ahead of us now, much quicker driver, and hopefully we can try and stick with him somewhat and follow him and get him to drag us to the cars ahead, and maybe when he has a battle with them we can try and get a few more positions. Moved up 1 place in that lap at turn 1 because of the crash, and now we're back down 1, back into P13 after Rory getting passed. So unfortunately we haven't really been able to stick with Rory. He's cut up to the cars ahead, and there's a big group up there, and something has happened in the group. That's Evan Walsh sliding into the gravel at the exit of Ravazza 1. So we move back up into 12th place now. And yeah, hasn't been the cleanest driving for me over the last few laps, making a lot of little mistakes that don't really lose a whole lot of time, but if you add up all the little mistakes that cost you 1 or 2 tenths, they do eventually add up. So we're going to have to try and tidy our driving up, or we'll be coming under pressure from the cars behind before we're putting pressure on the cars in front. We skip ahead a few laps then, we've managed to stick with the cars ahead. They've been doing a bit of battling, so kept us in touch. On the exit of Ravazza 1, we get onto the gravel a little bit, and we have a big moment onto the pit straight, and this is the longest straight on the track. You need to get a good exit, so that's really going to cost us a lot of time. I can see on the relative there in the bottom left now. We've lost touch of the cars ahead because of that, and it's put Connor right in our slipstream pretty much now, under a second behind us. On the exit of Tamburello though, car that's Rory O'Shea after having a moment into the barrier, so we move up a place there. And in hindsight, maybe it was a good thing we had that bad exit. If we had been as close as we were before having the bad run, maybe we would have been in a position that we might have got involved in that crash. Have to not worry about that now, need to keep our eyes forward and focus on catch up to Brian in front while also keeping Connor behind. But unfortunately on the very next lap we do the same thing out of final turn, getting onto the gravel a bit. Luckily we don't have as big of a moment at this time, but still means that we have a bad run on the pit straight. You can see in the mirror, Connor had a much better exit. He's in our slipstream and he's closing in on us, closing in, down into Tamburello. He has the inside line. He's much more confident on the brakes there. He brakes later, we make a big contact, but nothing too serious really, and he manages to make the move. Him up into P11, us back down into P12. But later on that very same lap, we get that position back as Brian McCarthy there on the right hand side after having a bit of an issue through the chicane, just like we did in the previous race. So up into P11 once again. So as we come to start the final lap then, you can see on the relative in the bottom left, Jeff Richardson, who was in P7, is in the pit lane, so he must have had some kind of an incident there, and I don't know who else was involved, but there must have been somebody else, because we jump up from P11 into P9 on this last lap. We're going to have to work to keep this, because right behind us is Rory O'Shea, who overtook us and kind of pulled away from us earlier in the race. Then he had a bit of a spin and He's recovered now, he's right back up behind us and going to be putting the pressure on us now for the second half of this lap. So just going to try and keep it nice and tidy, because really there's not much overtaking opportunities on this track. Really only turn one and then the second to last turn, so take it nice and calm now for the majority of this lap. Really sending it through Piratelli using some of the off tracks that I have at my disposal. Off tracks has been a bit of a nightmare during these few races. On the exit of Acqua Minerale, he's right behind us now, but into the Variante Alta, it's not a place he can try and make a move, and it's just focusing on getting a good exit so that he wouldn't be able to make a move into the second last turn. Managed to get a pretty good exit there. He's about 3/10 behind, so I know I'm pretty safe from him making a dive from that far back. It's already a tricky enough corner to break into when you're by yourself, never mind making an overtake. But through the final turn, for the final time, we're going to come up across the line in P9, and I'm not really sure what happened, but as you see on the final result, we actually got P8 in this race. So as I said, we ended up getting P8 in this race, up 11 positions from where we started in P19, about 18 seconds off the lead. Finley Melvin down in 13th, he did finish ahead of us, but he must have had an unserved drive-through or something like that, which ended up getting him a post-race penalty and finishing behind us. So P8 it was, Sean McClemens and Dylan McClemens 1-2, so the McClemens brothers dominating the feature race here, with Brandon McCaughlin finishing out the podium. And what that means for the standings is that we are up into P15. 50 points, level with Tony Stack ahead. And Dylan McClemens leads the championship after he's second place in that feature race. Championship leader before this race, Michael O'Donoghue, didn't take part in this round, so he drops down into 7th. But there is a drop round in this championship, so your worst result is not counted towards the standings. So that's lucky for us, because there is one race where I won't be attending. I think that's the Daytona round. So good to know that we're not going to be missing out on that. But said in the last race that our target's going to be top 15 in the championship. Currently, we're matching that target. So hopefully in the next few rounds, we can build on that and move up a bit further if possible. But that's it for this video. If you enjoyed, make sure you give it a like. And if you want to make sure you don't miss out on the next round of this RTA Championship, which is around Spa next week, make sure that you do subscribe. But thank you very much for watching. Until next time, see you then.